Hello, I'm Cosmo Duff-Gordon. I was born on the 22nd of July 1862, my father was Cosmo Louis Duff-Gordon and my mother Anna Maria Antrobus. I was educated at Eton and in 1896, I became the 5th Baron of my family estate. In 1900, I married Lucy Wallace, the eldest daughter of Douglas Sutherland. Lucille, who was the fashionable designer with a couture firm, of which I was a director. I was a proficient fencer and won a silver medal at the 1906 Olympics, and helped organize the British fencing team at the 1908 Olympics. Myself and Lady Duff-Gordon boarded the Titanic at Cherbourg, with ticket 11,755, which cost £39 and 12 shillings. My cabin on board Titanic was A16 and Lady Duff-Gordon's was cabin A20. We had embarked onto the ship as Mr. and Mrs. Morgan, mainly for person and privacy reasons. Titanic was a splendid ship, with so much luxury and elegance. Dining on board was certainly something very special indeed, beautiful and plentiful food always at our table. Spacious and wide decks in which to have a brisk walk throughout the day. On the night of the sinking we approached First Officer Murdoch, who was supervising the loading of the emergency lifeboat number 1. I asked if my wife and I could get in. Officer Murdoch replied that he would be glad if we would. A few minutes later at 1:10 a.m. lifeboat 1 was lowered, containing only 12 of us, 7 of whom were crew members. After Titanic had sank, leading fireman Charles Hendrickson asked all of us whether we ought to go back to help the people swimming in the water. Lady Duff-Gordon warned we might be swamped by people trying to get on board the lifeboat. Several of us agreed that it would be dangerous to go back. Eventually Hendrickson was persuaded by Charles Henry Stengel's suggestion that we should head for a light seen in the distance. As we rowed and the cries of swimmers began to die down, tempers began to fray among us in the boat, we were all in shock at what we had come through. We still rowed towards a light, but it got no nearer, and hailing other boats brought no result. Stengel continually shouted directions until I eventually told him to keep quiet. Fireman Robert Pusey complained to me that they had lost all their belongings and that, in all probability, their pay would end when the ship sank. I felt sorry for the crew, and offered all the men £5 on their return. After our rescue on the Carpathia, I gave each crewman of our lifeboat the £5 I had promised to give them. After the disaster, I appeared before a packed British inquiry to defend myself against the accusation that I had bribed the men to secure my escape from the Titanic. This has been my story. It has been a pleasure to speak to you today.